Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all staying safe as usual. In continuing our series, taking a look at all of the new weapons and skills, we're going to be actually taking a look at the Hyper Light Sword today. And that is from a game called Hyper Light Drifter, which is something I have actually never played before, but it looks really cool. And if you guys think that I would enjoy it, definitely you can recommend that to me. I'll be checking it out probably over the next week or so. But this is one of the new two-handed weapons that we have, and it's really cool. So it is a range shot that sets up a melee shot. And every time you use that range shot, you set like these marks on an enemy. And then from there, you get some crits with the melee attack. So the main source of damage is obviously going to be the melee attack, but the stacks of the marks that you get actually increase the amount of crits that you get from the melee. So it's a really cool little synergy that we have going on, and we're going to be running this in tactics today. So I'm going to be swapping out a lot of different weapons in the backpack, obviously make use of Acrobata Pack, and we're going to be going on a route that I don't typically go on. So I'm really excited to show you guys that, and I think we have a couple new weapons and skills that I haven't showcased yet, so I'm going to be working on those. If you like this video and want to see more stuff like this, you can subscribe, you can turn on the bell for notifications, all that YouTuber stuff, and you can follow me on my Twitch. That's twitch.tv/AzumarillFairy, AZF, and let's get started with this run. We're going to go to the Promenade of the Condemned, more so I just felt like it. I was originally planning on going to the Arboretum, but I don't know. Just kind of decided to do something new with this run, because I always go either Arboretum or the other one, Toxic Sewers. We got a challenge rift right away. I did take a hit from a Bombardier bomb, so that kind of sucked, but we're going to kind of make up for it with the challenge rift right away. I have a double amulet in purple, but I did swap it out just for the extra jump amulet that I got in this challenge rift. I did not actually get the 30 or the time door going into Promenade from prisoner quarters, so that was a little disappointing, but because of the amulet and just because one of the elite drops gave me a level 6 Hyper Light Sword, I decided just to kind of go with the run. I typically won't do that just because I like the level 7 rewards, but not a huge deal at the end of the day. I'm just a little picky about things sometimes, but whatever. Anyways, we're going to make up for it. We're not going to get hit for a really long time in this level until pretty much towards the end when we face an elite runner, and that was really just from the elite ability, so not much damage there. One weird thing about this weapon that I do kind of want to make a note of, and we're going to see this happen a couple times, is it's a similar problem that a couple other melee weapons have, and you can see it on your screen, is that you're not in complete control of where you want to move. And what I mean by that is, for example, you can see me hitting this failed experiment, right? And this is going to be seen with other enemies like this one and this one. Just every enemy, pretty much. You move along with the weapon. So the katana has the same problem, but the katana is a little bit easier to control just because of the speed of the weapon. But unfortunately, what happens with the Hyper Light Sword is that you have to be really careful about moving into the enemy range. And that can actually get you hit if you're in the middle of your combo and the enemy is attacking as well and they don't get breached. Then you can end up getting pretty substantially hit. And that was actually what happened to me in prisoner quarters, why I didn't get the 30. And you're going to see later on, I actually end up hitting a Thorny in the back because of that same thing. I'll show you guys when we get there. But anyways, move on to the prison depths. I always confuse that with the prisoner quarters. Curse is going to be pretty easy. I have a Tesla coil, I have a lacerating aura. That pretty much trivializes every curse because the beginning enemies, and they actually constructed prison depths really cleverly. There are no hammers. I think 95% of the time when I'm in here, I never see a hammer during the curse section. So that's pretty cool. This is going to be really weird. So we have this lacerator, right? And what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and kill the slasher. I'm going to get a couple hits off. I'm going to try to avoid the lacerator, right? And then he just kind of stops moving, right? He gets breached. But then he starts spinning as soon as I get back, and then I lose a lot of health from that. So I'm just desperately trying to get back whatever HP I can. Kind of feels like a bug. Didn't feel that fair, to be honest, but it is what it is. You can't do anything about it at the end of the day. I'm going to take another challenge rift. I actually had an elite earlier because my double purple amulet doesn't have an extra jump, and the one on the ground did from an elite rampager, so I just took that. And I just kind of set aside my double purple amulet. That's one thing that I don't really talk about much, is just like kind of swapping out amulets, especially early game. Like, it's really useful to be able to do that when you don't have that extra jump, because while you don't really need the extra jump in challenge rifts, like they can be really useful, especially like if you make a mistake while you jump, like it kind of gets you out of some perilous situations, especially, you know, where the one where you have like a long row of spikes, or if you have like the one where you have a bunch of doors and a bunch of ball and chains and the ladder that goes away when you step on it. Like it's pretty useful for stuff like that. But I haven't really talked much about this weapon, and you're going to see this Thorny hit. That is kind of a big problem, especially because against Thornies, you know, you don't want to hit them in the back. But as far as, you know, what works well with this weapon, I have found that pretty much anything tactics works well here. I really like Acrobatic Pack just because of the fact that, like, what you end up having with this weapon is that you kind of do need the ranged weapon to be able to get crits, right? And the base damage of the actual sword is kind of mediocre at best. So what you want is, you know, you want to be able to trigger the Acrobatic Pack. You know, you have a Hakuto's Bow, Carbine, whatever. I have a Firebrand at some point. You really want something that can help complement and synergize with your Hyperlight Sword, because, you know, the Hyperlight Gun, which is the ranged weapon, will be able to trigger whatever Acrobatic Pack has. And because it's a two-handed weapon, you kind of need something that will assist it along the way, because you're not able to easily get synergy that a lot of, you know, just general ranged bows like a Quick Bow, Hakuto Bow would get you. So that's why I like Acrobatic Pack. I have Crow's Foot just because the melee attack is somewhat slow compared to other melee tactics weapons, or even just melee weapons in general. And I've actually never tried this on Brutality. I'd be very curious to see how it works. Probably Open Wounds, just like any other melee weapon, would work really nicely here. But I feel like it's better on tactics. I also use Barb Tips. So maybe someone in the comments can clarify. Excuse me. Maybe someone in the comments can clarify this for me. But the lasers from the Hyperlight Gun, it should work with Barb Tips. If it doesn't, let me know. But I end up swapping it out at the end of the run anyways. And we're going to be cursed in Ossuary. And Ossuary is not really a level I enjoy going to that much. Very, very, very rarely. And the main reason is that you can see it. It's just such a huge level. And there's periods of time when you're just kind of running with nothing to do. And it gets kind of boring. Like, I just want to move when I play this game. I want to go fast. Don't really have time to just, like, kind of move for like ages. I actually don't see the cleaver, and I almost got nicked by its little axe, and I would have ended up dying, but no issues. We're gonna kind of keep going here, and yeah, like Ossuary is not really a favorite of mine. It's probably my least favorite level in the game. I know a lot of people like it, so I'm sorry for those of you who really like it, but for me, it's just one of those things where I just don't want to be moving for a long time. But we're gonna actually be fighting Concierge after this, and this has always been a little weird to me that the Sweeper, which is the main enemy in the ramparts, right? Every one of those levels has like a main enemy attached to it, like the skeleton in the caverns and then the automaton in the clock tower, things like that, right? So the Rampager, I'm surprised it's not in the Ossuary, because the only place you can get to Concierge from is from Ossuary. So or I'm sorry, I meant the other way around. So the only place you can go to from Ossuary is Concierge. So I'm surprised that that enemy's not there. But I guess it's such a minor thing. It doesn't really matter. Concierge, here's the thing, right? So melee builds struggle against Concierge in terms of like getting a no-hit. Just because he's going to roar a lot. He's going to have the R around him a lot. You have to kind of pick your spots. So what I'm kind of doing here is I'm just picking my spots with the Hyperlight Sword, but I'm mainly just kind of focusing on the fact that, hey, I have a Hakuto's Bow, and I have a Sinew Slicer that has self-synergy with Poison. It generates a Toxic Cloud and gives me Poison, and I have a Knife Dance. Might as well just take advantage of it while I can. Use those to my advantage. Get an easy no-hit on Concierge. Sometimes you just kind of have to work with what you have. Concierge, not the greatest boss for melee builds. Really broken on range builds, though. Like, he's absurdly easy. Like, you can just stay far away the entire time and just worry about dodging the jump. Like, it's literally, like, not an issue. We're going to Stilt next, another level that I don't go to often. I just kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity just to explore levels I don't go to that much. Because I usually go to either Sanctuary or Graveyard because, you know, Graveyard's my favorite level in the game. And I've been really liking the Fatal Falls levels, so I've been trying to go to those more. Only thing is I wish that Undying Shores had another boss option like Timekeeper or Giant or something. Reason I go to Giant a lot is he's actually the easiest boss for me out of the three second bosses, and I'm just kind of talking over the footage just because it's just not really much to talk about here. By the way, I am doing a crap ton of damage. I have great synergy right now. The reason is, one is the scroll fragments. So on 3, 4, and 5 BC, you get scroll fragments in every level, and you get more scroll fragments certain levels than others. Caverns and Giant give more than the other levels and bosses than the entire game. So that's why I do that. The other thing is I can go to Hand of the King kind of quickly. Sometimes I don't feel like going to High Peak Castle or Distillery. I forgot the first word. It's Derelict, I think. But I don't really always want to go to those levels just because I don't want the run to drag. And maybe I just kind of want it to be a shorter run, so that's kind of why I do that. But I would like an option to go to Giant, or I would like the Scarecrow and Timekeeper to have options to go to Hand of the King directly. So, devs, if you're watching this, you're probably not, like 0% chance you're watching this, but that'd be kind of cool. I'm rambling like hell. We actually cleared the curse. I almost got hit by a throwing knife just now, but we're good. We're good to go here. So I made a couple swaps during my time in this level, and really one of the main things as I kind of hugged the wall to avoid the knife thrower is I actually pick up a ×2 Hyperlight Sword, and that's actually going to, well, obviously up my damage, but it's also going to cause me a lot of problems because now I kind of have to look at synergy, because obviously you want the 100 times, but you also need synergy because otherwise I would just get something with Burning Oil damage. Like, it would be completely trivial, the double damage taken. So the one that I end up taking, I take it in a little bit here. So what it ends up being is bleed. No, it's burning, 40% to burn and 75% to root. So there are a couple options that I have. So one of the options that I take right away is the flame turret. And I also grab a firebrand. That was kind of a mistake on my part as I desperately try to find some light source so I don't die. So I still have a thing to commentate. But, you know, I probably should have just kept the Hokuto's bow. There was no real need for me to grab a firebrand, but I just kind of did for the sake of it. I end up kind of realizing this as I kind of continue this run, especially when I go into Derelict Distillery. But anyways, we're going to go face Timekeeper, and it's kind of the same thing as Concierge, right? Like, I kind of want to stay away most of the time and just kind of pick my spots. So when she's not doing her 3-8 combo, that's when you want to basically attack her. Kind of get unlucky with the shurikens. I got hit right as she was about to go into her second phase, and so I got a little discombobulated and fortunately took a hit. The shurikens don't do much damage, but you can see they did 18%, which is a lot more than typical because I am double damage and I'm on tactics. So Timekeeper dies or goes into her portal or whatever. I wonder where she goes. I hope that's addressed at some point because there's a lot of spoiler stuff that's there. Speaking of which, we're in Distillery now, so as I try to figure out this really confusing Distillery puzzle, is it me, or is there like a new puzzle every time you guys go to Distillery? I have a love-hate relationship with this level because the puzzles can be really confusing, and just because of the way this game kind of works, like, you have to move to be able to see the screen, right? So I get really confused with just like the barrels, like, because a lot of times what happens is I end up getting just smacked in the face by a bunch of barrels in a row, and I'm from 100% to 0% because, you know, I don't take Masochist, so I end up taking 30%. If this was any past update, well, Distillery would have never been in past updates, right? But I think in 1.8 they changed, or 1.9 they changed traps to be a 30% flat fee, so yeah, I'd always die in Distillery, to be honest. But I only took one barrel hit, so that was actually my best Distillery run in a really, really, really long time. So, anyways, Hand of the King time, and this is where Hyper Light Sword really shines, because I have a lot of good synergy going, especially with the Hokuto's bow, able to use Acrobatic Pack, and then just get a bunch of hits off. It doesn't look like much damage, but it adds up over time, right? Because it's a combo. And I'm at the point now, because I'm double damage, and just because you're at the end of the game, you just generally do more damage to enemies as a whole. Like, I'm actually not using the ray gun as much, right? So it ends up being a really, really powerful weapon. It doesn't struggle early game. I don't want you guys to think that by the way, spoilers up ahead for the next 2 biomes. So if you want to click off the video, go ahead. I don't want to say it's a bad weapon early on, because it's not. It's actually quite good. It's just kind of got to get lucky with some of the affixes, especially like the piercing on the ray gun and stuff like that. But and just the fact that you're just not doing a lot of damage in general. I do pick up a wolf trap, by the way, so I do get rid of the owl. I do get rid of the corrupted power that I had. I probably could have kept it, to be honest, instead of the flame turret. I had I had fire source, but I kind of make a bad mistake here because I overestimate. I underestimate the bomber's range, and that I actually end up getting really badly hit there. So, got lucky with the 1%, with the 1 HP mechanic in this game, where if you take a hit that would normally kill you from like 25% and beyond, you end up on 1 HP, and we're actually going to have that happen to me again in this collector fight. Spoiler alert, but I don't get a no-hit, unfortunately. Here's my problem with collector, right? He's not a terribly difficult boss, right? I would say Scarecrow for me is the hardest boss, but I think the problem is that spam attack is just so annoying. The one where he just kind of jumps up and down and everything just falls down because he's invulnerable during that phase. You can't hit him. You just have to spend your whole time dodging, and then if he strings like 3 or 4 of those in a row, then you just don't really get any hits off, which is what happened to me here. I'm lucky that I have a crap ton of power here. By the way, as far as mutations, Instinct of the Master of Wumsh, because I'm going to be constantly getting crits. Support, because I have a Wolf Trap and I have a Flame Turret. And Emergency Triage, in the case of me getting hit, / he's going to drop the Panacea and I just want a quick heal. So, that's mutations. But I hope they kind of change this to where, you know, maybe they can make him hit a little bit harder or faster. But I kind of want them to change that spam attack because it just becomes a little tedious after some point. One thing to note, and I haven't mentioned this yet, is that with the ray gun, the more stacks that you file against an enemy, the more damage you do. So I took a weird hit there. I wasn't expecting to get hit. I thought I was going to avoid it, but whatever. Now I can't take any hits because I've already used the 1%, the 1 HP mechanic. If I get hit, I'm dead. And everything's gonna be doing pretty much max damage at this point, so I cannot get hit. But I'm lucky that he hits the wolf trap, drops the Panacea, hit him, pick it up, and he's gonna do the tornado attack. I'm just gonna hit him a couple times. And that's gonna be the run. So I talked a lot about just various things, went on a lot of tangents, and I think the reason is this weapon kind of speaks for itself, right? It's a two-handed weapon that is made very, very nicely. The range shot sets up the melee attack. The melee attack is your main source of damage. It's kind of like the repeater crossbow, right? You have one source of main damage, and then you have another source of like helping you get those crits and helping you really get into that main damage. So I really do enjoy using this weapon. Would I say it's better than the nail or the bone club? Probably not, but at the end of the day, it's really hard to rank what I would consider to be a tactics weapon. I know it's dual stat, and I haven't used it on brutality yet, but I really think that this weapon, at the end of the day, it has a lot of things going for it. Compared to other two-handed weapons, which I like all of them, to be honest, I would say explosive crossbow and repeater crossbow are better than it as far as ranged weapons. Well, obviously, because hard light gun is not really like an attacking sort of weapon, right? But what I mean is, I would say those two weapons are better than this, just on an overall scale as far as two-handed weapons are concerned. I would place it above the ice crossbow, just because ice crossbow struggles against bosses a lot. I would place it above the sights, just because, you know, sights are amazing, but you do need a lot of mutation support to help it out. And you kind of need it with any two-handed weapon, but I feel you need it less with this than with the scythe claws. And the Ferryman's Lantern, I actually would place below everything, because it's still a good weapon, but two-handed weapons in general are really good. So I would probably put this like third place as far as two-handed weapons are concerned. Very, very, very good weapon, and a very fun run. and I got to use a route that I don't normally do. That route being Prisoner Quarters into Promenade, into Prison Depths, into Ossuary, into Concierge, into Still, Sepulchre, Timekeeper, Distillery, and then the rest of the game. That was really cool. And I actually ended up with a lot of scrolls. Challenge Rifts, got a couple of dual stat scrolls. So even if you go certain routes, like, you can still get a lot of scrolls. So if you were wondering why I always get a lot of scrolls, I just do. I don't know how else to explain. If IBC, you get a lot of scrolls in general, though. So this video is going on too long. This is my longest video in quite some time that is not like a full run. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video and just the support you guys are giving me in general. I know I took a lot of breaks. I want to get back to putting out content on a regular basis. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know how that's going to work. But I have really enjoyed putting out these runs for you guys. Let me know what you want to see out of this channel, whether it's a guide, whether it's a tier list, or anything like that. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys again. Have a great night and stay safe out there.